We got some brand new discus going into the 450 today. They've already been in quarantine for about a week. These discus are coming from Global Fish Company in New Jersey. Make sure you check them out. I've got mostly marbolos. There's also one pigeon red, but I'll let you guys check them out the day they got here and went right into quarantine. In case you didn't know, when I quarantine my new fish, I always auto-medicate with the quarantine couple. I use Chem Paragard and Metroplex. This is gonna cover anything internal and external. Both are mild medications and they should be fine with these meds. So we got one guy that's being very aggressive, which is this red Marbolo right here. He's actually the smallest one, that color. And he's being super aggressive with everybody, so we're gonna keep an eye on him. And we got one of the yellows down here that looks like he's not gonna make it. He's been struggling like that for the last 2 days. Keep an eye on him too. Maybe he'll recover. If it's a loss, can't do nothing about it. But everyone else is looking pretty good. Gotta keep an eye on that aggression. Remember, these discus are cichlids and they still act like cichlids. It's more than just one guy. Everyone's kind of on each other's nerves in here. It may be because there's so many of them in only a 29 gallon. They may feel a little cramped and feel like they don't have enough space. They're only being here for a couple more days and then they're gonna go in the big boy. Stop being so aggressive, man. Calm down, bro. After about a week or so of quarantine, I'm noticing that these guys look very, very healthy. They're all eating very well. They all lost a little bit of color coming out of the bag, but after a day or two, all their color came right back. That's another good sign. And here's what they look like today. They come right up to the glass as soon as I'm walking up to it, even with the camera in my hand, because they are anxious and hungry and want to be fed. That's a very good sign of happy, healthy fish. So let me say this right off the bat, guys. No, 1 week is not enough time for a quarantine. There's still plenty of things that can pop up in 2 weeks or even in 3 weeks. So you really should quarantine more, but I'm impatient, so they're going in there. Don't just do how I do it. I'm letting you know that they should be quarantined for longer. I have some plans for that quarantine tank, so I gotta get it empty and move on to the next, if you know what I'm saying. So let's start getting these discus into the 450. And while we do, for those of you that are interested in keeping discus, I'll be dropping some golden nuggets for you along the way. Here we go. So I do have to make this disclaimer just in case some of you are brand new to the channel. They're going in a tank that contains 2 very big Arowana. Yes, it's uncommon to keep Arowana with discus. Yes, it can be done because I've been doing it. The Arowana pay the discus absolutely no mind at all. The discus are too big to fit in their mouth and they are aware of that, so they're not gonna try to eat them. They're also not aggressive with the discus. They don't bother them. The discus don't bother the Arowana. It's gonna be totally fine. The only thing I could tell you that if you were wanting to try this mixture for yourself, you just gotta make sure that the discus are big enough to be in a tank with Arowana. Like I said, anything that can fit in an Arowana's mouth, they're gonna try to eat it. All of my discus are big. They are bigger than the Arowana's mouth. We're not gonna have any issues. Knock on wood. But not having issues with my current stock of discus and Arowana doesn't mean I'm not gonna take some precautions, guys. So before adding in these discus, what I wanna do is make sure that I distract the Arowana with some food of their own. I'm gonna drop some food on one corner over here, have the Arowana going after the food. It'll sink to the bottom. They'll be at the bottom eating that food, and I'm gonna add the discus over on the next side because I don't wanna add something to the tank over the top and have the arowana thinking that I'm feeding them and automatically assume that these new discus are food. And those of you that are members to the channel know that that has happened before. So we're not trying to let that happen again. Safe when they're in groups, so right away they went with their buddies. The Arowana are not paying any mind, they're not paying them any attention. See Flaco and Blanco not even looking at the discus, that's what I love to see. There's two things I always add when we add brand new fish to a tank: Cichlid Prime or Safe to handle any possible ammonia spikes in the tank, because we got a heavy bioload now, a heavier bioload, and Cichlid Stability to help boost the bacterial production. This is how we do it. 1/4 teaspoon is good for 300 gallons. I'm gonna give it a double dose. Last little bit. The first thing I chose to feed them was some black worms, because discus absolutely love black worms, and any finicky fish that doesn't really want to eat, they're gonna go after those black worms for sure. So this is my black worm carrying case. I found this on Amazon. I'll try to see if I can find the link and post it for you guys. But it comes with a nice little cover. And then it has a section where you can separate the black worms from the bottom. And you see the water drips from it. This is, the purpose of this is to be able to wash the black worms and clean that dirty poop water out very easily. Because when you keep black worms, you have to make sure that that water is clean. You don't want to feed the poop infested black worms like all this off-colored stuff. That's either poop or dead worms. So you want to get that out of there. I always give these worms a good cleaning before feeding, which I'm going to do right now. So I toss out the old water from the bottom basket. Now the water is dripping out from the bottom, the little mesh underneath. Basically doing a little water change for the black worms. 100% black worm water change. Put it back in its bottom case, fill it back with water, and they'll be submerged once again with clean, brand new, 100% water change. Alright, now we can feed. Alright, let's see how many of them come out for the black worms. This is just to make them feel comfortable in their new home. The original guys are going after them, no problem. Let's see if the new guys in that back corner start coming after the worms. Here come the new guys. This is why blackworms is a great starting food when you get new fish. It will boost their appetite. It will trigger their appetite even when they're nervous and a little scared. Just being handled, moved to another tank, they're still going after the food. I'd also like you to take note that the Arowana are more interested in the worms than they are the discus. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't keep Arowana and discus together. Living, breathing proof right here, baby. So a few things about discus in case you were considering getting them. I know a lot of people feel that discus are very sensitive, very timid fish, and very difficult to keep. I'm here to tell you that a lot of that is not true. Discus, first of all, are very strong, resilient fish. They are cichlids, keep in mind. And they defend themselves very well. They interact with each other very well. They even get aggressive with each other sometimes. But discus can absolutely hold their own. My members are aware. I've had a discus that did encounter a problem with Flaco. I had put him back into the tank after he fell out, after he jumped out and fell to the floor, and I put him back into the tank, and Flaco thought he was a piece of food that I was feeding. He scooped him up right into his mouth, chomped on him 2 or 3 times, realized that he did not fit in his mouth, and then let him go. So that discus went to a little corner on the bottom somewhere and just stuck to himself. I obviously dosed the tank with some stress guard, I dosed it with some Paragard, and within a couple of days, even though he had some scarring, he was back to swimming around the tank with everybody else, looking for food with absolutely no problem.
Do you want to go to war? Come on. Do you want to go to war? We'll take you to war.
About a week or so after that, the scarring that he had was absolutely gone. It was one of these 3. One of these 3 ended up in Flaco's mouth and had some terrible scarring, but he recovered. These fish are super resilient. Now, when people talk about how difficult it is to keep discus, what they really mean is that your maintenance levels have to be up there. Why? Because discus require a lot of feeding. In order for them to grow and stay healthy, you gotta feed them anywhere between 3 to 5 times a day. And when you feed that much, that means your tank is gonna get that dirty. You're gonna have poop in your substrate. You're gonna need to be doing water changes. You're gonna need to be doing vacuuming. My wave maker method of helping you avoid vacuuming doesn't really work in a discus tank because you can't keep a wave maker on with that much flow for discus. They prefer much more calmer water, so you can't have the wave maker on full blast to pick up all the poop. So what happens is you get poop in your tank and you're gonna have to manually go in there and vacuum it. As far as water changes, discus require really big, really frequent water changes. If you're coming from the African cichlid world, you should already be used to big, frequent water changes for the reasons that they need them, right? Discus have their reasons as well because of the amount of food that you feed, and also discus are one of the known species to release the growth stunting hormone into the water, especially discus. So doing big water changes helps to remove those hormones for the water so that they can continue to grow. When you see those big old huge discus in an aquarium somewhere or in some overseas tank, the reason why they got that big is because they do big frequent water changes while also feeding many times per day. Discus do very well eating pellets, but like I said, if you got finicky eaters, try some blackworms first. They're gonna go after the blackworms immediately. Once they are eating, they should be healthy and good to go. They love to be in big groups. They actually feel safer when they're in a group together. That's why they like to huddle together in that one little corner. So if you are gonna get discus, you wanna get somewhere between 5 and 8 discus all at once, so that they can feel safe. You never want to have just one discus in the tank or just 2. See, this guy is acting very, very scared and very nervous because he's not with the group. He's over here all by himself. When he finds the group, like now, if he sticks with them, he'll be fine. Now, people also worry a lot about pH in the discus tank. What I can tell you right now is that I don't worry about pH at all in this tank. I keep it around neutral, which is close to my tap water, and I leave it alone. Once it settles there, I never have to mess with it ever again. I don't try to lower to these crazy, super low pH levels that people say discus require. That is more true when it comes to wild caught discus. You're gonna wanna keep that low pH for them. But all of these discus are tank raised, they're store bred, and they are very used to a regular 7.0 pH. So don't even stress yourself trying to lower the pH for the discus. Keep them at whatever your tank water is. If you don't remember by now, keeping a stable pH is more important than trying to swing it and get it to a certain number. And the very last thing that I can remember that they need is a high temperature. Discus prefer somewhere around 84 to 86. I keep this tank at 84. I don't want to go too high for the Arowana, but they're doing great in 84. Like any other fish, you don't want any ammonia or nitrite in the tank. You do want to keep your nitrates low when it comes to discus. They are known to be a little bit more sensitive to higher levels of nitrate. But again, you don't have to go crazy. My guys have been kept in anywhere between 20 and 40 parts per million. They have continued to grow. If you see the original guys that are in here, they got great size on them. The guys that are in here. So these new guys that are just a little bit smaller, they're gonna grow just as well. And I'm not gonna go crazy trying to keep the tank at 20 parts per million or lower of nitrate. Don't go crazy. It's not that hard. Don't believe all the hype. Keeping discus isn't any more difficult than keeping an African cichlid tank. Now, if you don't keep African cichlids and you keep regular tropical fish, you may feel a higher level of difficulty only because your maintenance level is gonna go up keeping these type of fish. But that's all that it is. So with that being said, don't be scared to try a discus tank if you've been considering it. And by the way, yes, I can keep many more discus in this tank. The plan is to get about 10 more discus somewhere in the near future and really get this tank stocked up and good to go. We also got some other fish that are gonna go in this tank. Some of you may know of it already, but make sure you keep posted because this tank is nowhere near fully stocked yet. Let's go. Now, if you wanted to see how far this 450 has come, that video is gonna be right there for you. Check it out. I think you're gonna like it. I'll see you on the other side. Peace.